Hello again and welcome back to The Front Row, a minor production of the First Congregational Church in South Peak, and where our intent is to bring snippets from our Sunday morning message into your week. This week, we are talking about the spiritual discipline of submission. Yay. Yesterday, we talked about the fact, or we reminded ourselves that the reason that we endure disciplines is so that we can experience freedom on the other side. It's really about the pursuit of that freedom, not the making of a god of the discipline. This is a really important point. But the question was asked as we wrapped up yesterday, what is the freedom on the other side of the spiritual discipline of submission? It's a great question. I think it's really important that we anchor into that freedom so that we can, in a sense, tolerate some of the conversation around the discipline. So our author says it this way: the freedom on the other side of the spiritual discipline of submission is the ability to lay down the terrible burden of always needing to get our own way. The ability to lay down the terrible burden of always needing to get our own way. Do we see that as a terrible burden? Let me put it to you another way. It's the proverbial mindset of a 2-year-old who has just learned the word mine. Mine, mine, mine. And it seems that mindset, that perspective on the world, seems to be held onto by that 2-year-old for the next 20 years or so. And then hopefully some maturity comes along and they realize that the world does not revolve around them. But until then, there's a mindset that is at play. And we've all been teenagers. We're not picking on teenagers here. It's just the reality of their perspective on the world. But they have a couple things that come into play. The first, this mindset that thinks that if they're not looking at me, I'm invisible and have no worth. There's such an insecurity around, man, I need to be seen. Or if they're not thinking about me, I must not mean anything to them and they don't love me. These two immature mindsets are heavy influencers in the concept of self-esteem or lack thereof. And the third mindset that we carry through our teenage and young adult years is, if they don't think the same way I think, well, they're just stupid and they don't understand the way the world works. Don't you love it when you hear a teenager tell you that you don't know how the world works? And the implication is, well, you're just stupid. Again, not knocking teenagers. We've all been through that stage. We understand where it comes from. The big problem comes is when we don't, as adults, mature out of those ways of thinking. We have all met 40, 60, 80-year-olds that think the same way. If you're not looking at me, I must be invisible and have no worth. If you're not thinking about me, then I must not mean anything to you. You don't love me. Or if you don't think the same way that I think, maybe you're just stupid and you don't understand how the world works. Those are serious mental and emotional burdens. And to engage in the spiritual discipline of submission is to wrestle with those particular mental and emotional demons and call out their untruth. It's an acknowledgement of the fact that we don't have a corner on knowledge. We don't have a perfect perspective of the world. The world does not revolve around me. As a matter of fact, in the teaching of Jesus, which we're going to get in the next couple of days, it's quite the opposite. That we are called to think of others as better than ourselves. It doesn't mean we don't think at all of ourselves. It doesn't mean our thoughts and our ideas mean nothing. We just need to keep it in perspective. This is a more mature approach to life. And it is the life that we're called to by Jesus, by the writings, by the writers of the Word of God, by God Himself. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in the next couple of days. So I hope you'll join us. Blessings to you. Have a fantastic rest of your day.